Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Matthew here with Crescentvale. We're going to do 2 cards in one video. We did this recently. We did about 4 similar cards in one video. I think sometimes it warrants 1 card per video. We recently just did a review on this Jordan Fleer Metal. But now we're taking a look at Anthony Edwards rookie cards from Mosaic. One is a silver mosaic. You call it a true mosaic. The other's an orange. And essentially, I just really like the card. Really like the player. And we're going to get into a bit of the similarities and differences behind the grading. I think this will kind of expedite the grading process and at the same time show similarities and differences whenever we have similar cards. I think this will be a little more beneficial because it'll be 2 similar copies and how do they grade and how they match up. Quick disclaimer, the grades that we do in each of our assessment videos are essentially my own assessment. The grades are not guaranteed to cross over at the other grading companies. The grades do not automatically guarantee an increase in value. That being said, think of these are raw cards, being if you're purchasing them. They're raw, they're put into a Zion slab with a custom label. And you can basically think like, okay, well, if I'm going to buy a raw card, I might as well get the most detailed analysis on the card. You can review everything we have on our YouTube channel, review everything we have on crescentvale.com. Check out our stuff on the eBay store. And first off, let's start with the orange. The orange mosaic. We'll come back to the silver in a second. Both cards I think are really close to mint to gem mint. But we'll kind of take a look and see exactly where any possible surface issues may take place. We'll look at the centering, the edges, and the corners. So one thing, whenever I was doing a lot of buying and grading in early 2020, the Ja Morant and Zion Williams class, I believe it's a surface-related issue. Let's go ahead and take a look at the surface first. The stamp, the rookie stamp, essentially the space from, it's almost like an indentation space. It's right above the you can kind of see where the line of the light is right now, where the actual stamp is, and then where there's an indentation line. And essentially what you would like to see is that indentation line to go around the stamp in a symmetrical format all the way through. That just kind of, it shows that that is symmetrical and it's not thrown off by any printing. And so that rookie stamp is the one that I started to notice the first and the most important, but essentially, you want to see a symmetrical amount of space all the way around the stamp. So at the top line, this is like a left bottom line, right. If that is symmetrical all the way around, you know that they essentially successfully stamped the logo on the card effectively. You kind of see down here as well then when that's happening. Everything's looking good as far as those stamps go. Now, at the top, I started to see, like, you could call it an indentation at this angle. And I couldn't see this without being at this angle with underneath the light. I call it an indentation line. I think some may call it I don't really even call this a printing line. So I call it indentation line, and it's a manufacturing error. It's not holding onto the card for several years error. It just came out from the manufacturer that way. So we'll mark it down to a 9.5 for that small indentation line. You can kind of see here on the back some of my fingerprints, and always trying my best to remove those whenever we're doing these videos. And whenever you're grading, self-grading, always make sure before if you do decide to send it off to a professional grader, that you remove your fingerprints from the card as best as possible. So I did not see this all up until right now. And it is what I would consider a pretty, let's see if I can see this with the naked eye. Yep, you can see that. So that takes the surface down considerable amounts. That's why we do these videos. So, in a perfect world, this it's a pretty, I would say, a more noticeable indentation, mark, scratch. Essentially, whenever they're printing these cards in the manufacturing, you'll just have card on top of card, and there are probably thousands of them being pushed through these machines that organize, and this is probably just a card that was rubbed up against this it's almost like a good amount of weight hit it. And in a perfect world, the manufacturer would have done a better job of quality assurance and have caught that and not sent that out, but they did not. And you can also see a little bit of indentations lines at this angle. So the surface is going to get marked down to an 8. You can clearly see the wear on the back side of the card. So for the surface, we're giving it an 8. And, that's just what we are giving it. Feel free to disagree in the comments. But, I do my best to give the analysis. And right now, that's what I'm seeing. And whenever I would cross-reference other cards, it would probably get a similar, you call it markdown. I was also thinking in the last video, the good percentage, 95%, almost 97% of the surface is in great condition, but whenever you have those errors like that, you really have to take them into consideration, take them seriously. So next, let's go ahead and just take a look at the corners and then the edges, and then we'll take centering last. So I was kind of thinking that this edge into the corner would need to be reviewed a little bit closer. I would say that could be a 9.5 corner. I don't know if I see, maybe I possibly see whitening there, so maybe a 9 on that corner there. This corner is sharp and everything looks good there. So about 9.5 on that one. Corner looks good there. So yeah, corners probably looking right now on the 9. A little bit of rounding there. So I think 9 on the corners is a accurate scoring. So we'll say corners 9. Edges on the back, I saw a little bit of a imperfection. Right, let's kind of zoom in and hit a certain angle. It might have just been that. It's almost like a piece of the card during cutting. But I thought it was something else that I saw at a certain angle. This is a good view of the edges. So maybe my eye was just seeing something else. That's a good shot of the edge there. And edges honestly feel like an 8.5 to a 9 to me. Possibly closer to a 9. I mean, it's not as clean cut of an edge as I would really like. I really have seen some really pristine edges. I wouldn't say there's any, maybe this right here could be considered a manufacturing slight error. You can see it, that's a good shot of it. So yeah, in between an 8.5 and a 9 for the edges. See if we find anything here. We already took that into consideration on the surface. Sorry. So I think down here, I want to take a closer look. Okay, probably giving the edges an 8.5. The centering, let's take a look at that real quick. And right now we have an 8 for the surface, 8.5 for edges, and a 9 for corners. So that will be, currently we're looking at an 8.5. And the centering looks pretty good. Centering probably get, I would almost assume, in between a 9 and a 9.5. We'll double check though. Two and a half there. Use our logo as an anchor point. about 5 millimeters. That's a pretty good distance from the top to the, over here is 4. So that logo was a pretty good anchor point. So it's 5 and 4. I don't know if the letters at the bottom are a true anchor point. This is like, this logo here is a true anchor point. And this is showing 3. Four. So some inconsistencies on the centering. Probably going with a 8.5 on the centering. So 8.5 overall. First card, overall 8.5. To be honest, I think that is a fair representation of the card. Next up is the, you call it almost a true mosaic. Silver, true, however you like to define it. It's these are the Anthony Edwards rookie year, so that would be 2020, 2021. And we'll go ahead and start off. Last time we did surface first. Let's go ahead and do surface again. And again, like taking a look at the indentations around each of these stamps and making sure that that there's symmetry between the spacing. And, you know, for the most part, I think all of that is lining up. Slight indentation on the right underneath the M. Don't really know if I consider it a print line, just an indentation, slight imperfection. I think like above the I, the letter I, is a, I would say almost a dimple. So probably looking at a 9 for the surface on the front, indentation on the back, slight dimple. But I think overall it's a 9 for the surface on this card for my score. Feel free to disagree in the comments. Second, we'll take a look at the edges and then the corners. We'll do edges first. And if you remember from the last card, I would say it's like a little bit rougher around the edges. There's just a sharpness to certain edges that some cards have a sharper edge than others. And as we review more of these cards on this channel, feel free to go back and review additional cards. Some of them it just feels closer to perfection as far as the card's edges. So I will say that these edges are very clean, very sharp. I don't see really too many errors, but just, you know, I would say that there's room for improvement. So maybe like a 9.5 on the edges here. Not really seeing any, like almost some whitening there on the left, a slight a bit. So 9.5 is probably going to be where I go. I could actually go down to a 9 because this almost, I would say, whitening here. So 9 on the edges. Very close to perfect, but yeah. 9 on the edges. Take a look at the corners next. And if that first card is an 8.5, which makes complete sense, this card being a 9 also makes complete sense. I don't want to say there's whitening, but there's definitely probably less than gem mint corner there, close to a 9 again. So yeah, I think this card is probably going to get just a 9 across the board is really where I'm leaning towards. They are sharp, and I'm not really seeing any imperfections, but that you could almost give a 9.5 to the corners. I would go 9.5 for the corners. Did not see any flaws even when we zoomed in. So the centering will be interesting because the first one, I think what do we get for the centering? 8.5 on the centering for the first one. So it was on, there's some inconsistencies on the orange version of this card. So let's take a look at this one and see how close to perfection the centering is. We'll start with this spacing from the logo. And again, I think 5 was also what that other one was. That's interesting. So some similarities to that, even though I'm not sure if I'm supposed to also be looking for 5 to here, which I do, which is nice. That is, to me, a very close anchor point to accuracy. This logo I usually consistently use, and it looks about 4, let's see here, 4 from the logo to the top. Four to the right. So both of those are 4, and I guess this will be a determining factor if this is also 4. Let's see what we got. 4. All right, so centering. Okay, let's take a look at the bottom real quick. We got logos at the bottom. We can take a look for the centering off of here, see if this is also 4. Looks like 3 to the bottom. So 9.5 for the centering. Is not completely perfect, but very close. 9.5 for the centering on this one. So we have 2 9.5s and we have 2 9s. It kind of makes it a little difficult to either round up to a 9.5 or round down to a 9.5. And not seeing too many errors, so I'm going to consider this a 9.5 overall, what we would call a mint plus with our grading system. Gem mints are 10. We just kind of keep the gem mint naming convention for scores of 10. We call a 9.5 mint plus. We call a 9 mint. 8.5 is near mint to mint plus. And then we have 8 is near mint to mint. And then 7.5 is near mint plus. 7 is just near mint. So there's like a near mint to near mint plus in the 8s that we just follow other naming conventions. Anyways, this one gets a mint plus overall. Thank you for watching and checking out these videos. Feel free to check back soon. We appreciate your support and thank you for watching.